The fall. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen Stacy's death is a total gut punch. In the movie, we follow Peter Parker already torn between being a hero and protecting the people he loves. Gwen isn't just the hero's girlfriend. She's active, smart, and chooses to stand by his side until the very end, even going into battle at the clock tower. And that's exactly where everything falls apart. During the fight against Harry Osborn, now transformed into the Green Goblin, the tower's gears start breaking, and Gwen, who's in the middle of it all, ends up falling from a massive height. And then comes that desperate moment. Peter dives after her and shoots his web at the last second. The direction makes a point of highlighting this, the web stretching out like a hand trying to reach her. It almost works, but the web does catch her, but too late. The sudden stop of the fall makes the impact fatal. There's no exaggeration, no graphic scene, just that heavy silence after she hits the ground. And the worst part, Peter made it. He was there, but it wasn't enough. And seriously, Andrew Garfield's performance here is something that still gets me to this day.
Stay with me, stay with me. Stay with me, stay with me. You stay with me.
The real father. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, for most of the movie, Yondu just seems like another tough outlaw. But by the end, it's clear he was always much more than that. Everything happens when the living planet created by ego starts collapsing. Peter Quill finally understands who his father really is, a monster responsible for his mother's death. With everything falling apart, the only option is to escape quickly before the explosion consumes everything. Yondu grabs a booster and takes Peter off the planet. At first, it just seems like another last-second escape, but there's one detail. There's only one functional spacesuit. Without thinking twice, Yondu puts it on Peter. He decides right there who gets to live. Before he dies, he says a line that sums up everything. Ego might be his biological father, but he was never his real dad.
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
The one who raised him, protected him, and cared about him was Yondu. It's a powerful shift because it completely redefines their relationship. Without the suit, Yondu is exposed in space. Peter can only watch.
No.
What makes it even more impactful is the funeral. Yondu had been rejected by the Ravagers, but after his sacrifice, they show up to honor him. The sky fills with lights, and for the first time, he's recognized as a hero. The wrong choice. In The Dark Knight, Rachel Dawes' ending isn't just sad, it's psychologically brutal. The Joker doesn't just want to hurt Batman, he wants to break him from the inside, and he does. Rachel and Harvey Dent are kidnapped and held in separate locations, surrounded by explosives. The plan seems simple. Batman chooses who to save, but not really. The Joker gives him the addresses switched, so even trying to do the right thing, Batman is already doomed to fail. Bruce rushes off thinking he's going to save Rachel, who has always been the most human part of his life. But when he gets there, he finds Harvey. At that moment, it's already over. The decision was made without him even realizing it. Meanwhile, Rachel is at the other location trying to keep Harvey calm through a radio. And here's a heavy detail. She starts admitting she chose him, that she wants to build a life with him.
My answer is yes.
It feels like the closing of her arc that never gets to finish. The explosion cuts it short. Batman manages to save Harvey, but with massive consequences. Half of his face is destroyed, marking the beginning of his transformation into Two-Face. Rachel doesn't get that second chance. One detail a lot of people forget is the letter she left for Bruce. In it, Rachel had already decided to move on with Harvey and stop waiting for him to give up being Batman. Alfred reads it and chooses to burn it, keeping that weight to himself. The First Family. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3, Lila's death is the kind of scene that completely catches you off guard. Up until then, Rocket Raccoon had always been the most sarcastic one in the group, but here the movie shows where all that pain comes from. Going back to the past, we see Rocket as an experiment, locked up with other modified animals, Lila, Teefs, and Floor. They're not just friends, they're literally the only family he's ever had, up to that point. And the hardest part is that even in that horrible place, they still manage to dream about something simple, escaping and living in peace. When Rocket finds out that the High Evolutionary plans to eliminate all of them after the tests, he decides to act. He builds a makeshift key, opens the cages, and it finally works. They're getting out. For the first time, it feels like things might actually go right. Lila steps out of the cage and hugs Rocket. And the moment is brief, but it's enough to break anyone, because right after that, the High Evolutionary shows up and shoots her. The impact hits more through Rocket's silence than the action itself. He just freezes for a second and then snaps. He goes after the villain in a completely uncontrollable rage. This is where the character changes forever. The final goodbye. In Logan, we find a completely different Wolverine from the indestructible guy everyone knows. Here, Logan is already old, tired, and slowly dying. The healing factor that always saved him just doesn't work like it used to anymore. And worse, the adamantium in his body, which was always his greatest weapon, has become a silent poison. Everything changes when Laura shows up, a girl with abilities identical to his. Basically, a new generation he never wanted to accept but ends up protecting. In the final fight, in the middle of a forest, Logan has to hold off an armed group alone while the mutant children try to escape. But then comes his worst nightmare, X-24, a younger, stronger clone with zero humanity. It's literally Logan fighting what he used to be in, but without limits, and he can't handle it. During the fight, completely exhausted, Logan ends up getting impaled by a tree trunk. Laura manages to defeat the clone using an adamantium bullet. An interesting detail, since that bullet had been kept by Logan himself as a possible end for his own life. In his final moments, he holds Laura's hand and finally understands something he had never felt before: peace. Now he doesn't see himself as a weapon or an experiment, but as someone who did the right thing in the end.
Don't be what they made you.
The final trick. Avengers. Infinity War starts in a way that's hard to forget, with Loki, the god of mischief, meeting a tragic end. The scene happens right at the beginning, with the Asgardian ship destroyed and Thanos dominating everything effortlessly. Thor is already defeated, and it's clear there's no room for tricks here. Even so, Loki tries to play his game one more time. He approaches, pretends loyalty, hands over the Tesseract, and takes on that classic manipulator role. But this time, something is different. Instead of escaping or creating an illusion, he goes for a direct attack, pulling out a hidden dagger to catch Thanos off guard. But the plan fails instantly. Thanos grabs his arm mid-move, as if he already knew exactly what was going to happen, then he chokes Loki and kills him.
We'll never be a god.
In the MCU, Loki had already died before, whether falling into the void in Thor or faking his death in Thor, the Dark World.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But this time, there's no hidden twist, and that's exactly what makes the moment so heavy. The alley. In Batman Begins, we get one of the most traumatic deaths in cinema. Young Bruce Wayne is still just a kid trying to deal with a recent trauma involving bats. During an opera performance, costumed figures descend from the ceiling, and it instantly triggers his panic. His father notices and decides to leave early, trying to protect his son from that situation. That's when everything goes wrong. As they exit through a side door, the family ends up in an empty alley, a simple detail that completely changes their fate. They're approached by a regular man, nervous, clearly desperate. Thomas Wayne stays calm and hands over his wallet without resisting. He tries to handle it in the safest way possible, but when the mugger demands Martha Wayne's necklace, things spiral out of control.
I said you would.
Bruce sees everything up close. First his father falls, then his mother. There's no hero there, no way to stop it. And before dying, Thomas still tries to comfort his son, telling him not to be afraid. What's most interesting about this version is the context. The movie makes it clear this wasn't just bad luck. It was a direct consequence of Gotham's crisis. The final snap. Avengers Endgame is the closing of an entire era, and the final rest for some characters. We've followed Tony Stark since the beginning of the MCU, always with a huge ego, quick jokes, and improvised solutions.
What's this doing here?
Put your knees in. There you go. And perfectly level.
And that's exactly what makes the ending so heavy. In the battle against Thanos, everything seems lost again. The villain already has the gauntlet, ready to win once more. But in the middle of the chaos, Tony does what he's always done best. He improvises. Using his suit's nanotechnology, he manages to steal the Infinity Stones without Thanos noticing. It happens fast, and almost no one realizes it at first. Then comes the moment that's already become iconic. Thanos declares he is inevitable, and Tony responds.
I am Iron Man.
The problem is simple. The human body wasn't made for this. The energy from all 6 stones goes straight through him. Tony doesn't have the resistance to survive it. The snap works. Thanos' army disappears, but the price is paid instantly. In his final seconds, he just sits there, motionless, surrounded by his allies. Peter Parker tries to talk to him, clearly in shock, and Pepper arrives with one of the heaviest lines in the movie, basically telling him he can rest now.
You can rest now.
The final line. In Spider-Man: No Way Home, Peter doesn't have Uncle Ben to guide him. That role falls on Aunt May. But just like in every universe, Spider-Man always has to go through the pain of loss. Here, everything happens when the Green Goblin shows up to completely destroy Peter's plan to help the villains. Up until that point, Peter still believes he can save everyone, that things can be fixed without sacrificing anyone. It's a very innocent view, almost stubborn. During the attack, May gets hit in the middle of the chaos. Even injured, she tries to stand up like it's nothing serious, and that fools you for a few seconds. It feels like she's going to be okay, but she's not. Before collapsing for good, she delivers the line that defines everything.
And with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
And it hits harder than ever because Peter hadn't truly lived that moment in this version yet. This is what finally transforms him. Her death isn't instant, which makes it even harder. Peter still tries to help, still believes there's time, but she dies right there, in front of him. This scene basically replaces Uncle Ben's classic role from the other versions. This is where Tom Holland's Spider-Man finally gains the weight that has always defined the character.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
The hidden truth. In Captain America: Civil War, everything changes when Tony Stark discovers that the story about his parents was never what it seemed. For years, he believed Howard Stark and Maria died in a car accident, but it wasn't an accident at all. The truth is revealed through a hidden recording used as a key piece by Zemo. The footage shows exactly what happened that night in 1991. The Stark's car is intercepted on the road by the Winter Soldier, who at the time was under Hydra's control. He forces the vehicle off the road, causing the crash. Howard survives the impact and tries to get out of the car, clearly confused about what's happening. That's when the Winter Soldier approaches and finishes the job. Then he goes to the car and finds Maria still alive and does the same. Everything was covered up as an accident for years. This moment not only destroys any chance of reconciliation between Iron Man and Captain America, but completely redefines the conflict of the movie. The shot in the back. In Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, the battle becomes personal at the worst possible moment for Miles Morales. Up until then, he's still trying to understand his powers, lacking confidence, and clearly lost in something much bigger than him. The problem starts when Aaron Davis, also known as the Prowler, is assigned to hunt down the new Spider-Man. What he doesn't know is that he's going after his own nephew. The chase leads them to a rooftop, and things get tense fast. Aaron corners Miles and gets ready to finish it, but at the last second, Miles takes off his mask, and everything stops. It's not a target anymore, it's family. That moment completely shifts the tone of the scene. Aaron gives up, clearly unable to go through with it. It's a powerful break because up until then he seemed fully committed to the wrong side. But Kingpin is watching everything. He doesn't accept the hesitation, and without warning, he shoots Aaron in the back. Miles takes his uncle to an alley, trying to help however he can, but it's already clear there's no coming back. Before dying, Aaron encourages him to keep moving forward.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
This scene works as Miles' turning point, just like it did for Peter in other versions. Here, he doesn't just lose a relative, he loses the person who believed in him the most.
No, bro. I'm sorry.
The tornado. In Man of Steel, before Clark Kent truly becomes a hero, he and his family are driving along a busy road when a massive tornado appears. Everyone abandons their cars and runs for shelter under an overpass. It's total panic. People desperate, everything happening fast. But in the middle of it, Jonathan Kent notices something small that changes everything. The family dog is trapped inside the car. Clark immediately offers to go because for him it would take seconds, but Jonathan doesn't allow it. He knows exactly what's at stake and decides to go himself, even though it's clearly riskier. He manages to save the dog, but on the way back something goes wrong. He injures his leg and starts limping, moving too slowly as the tornado approaches. And then comes the moment that still divides people to this day. Clark is right there, just a few meters away, ready to act. He could run in, grab his dad, and be back before anyone even noticed. But Jonathan looks at him and makes a simple gesture with his hand. Clark freezes, and that's the heaviest part of the scene. Jonathan would rather die than risk exposing his son to a world he believes isn't ready. This scene was one of the most criticized in the movie, mainly because many fans found it strange that Superman wouldn't save his own father. But Zack Snyder's idea was exactly that, to show that the hero's greatest conflict isn't strength, it's when to use it, the final control. In Spider-Man 2, everything reaches its breaking point when Otto Octavius' experiment spirals completely out of control. He's a brilliant scientist who creates mechanical tentacles to handle a fusion reactor, but ends up being controlled by his own invention after an accident. His plan turns into an obsession, and the so-called artificial sun keeps growing uncontrollably, threatening to destroy everything around it. The turning point happens when Peter Parker finally manages to reach him. For real. No mask, no fight, just talking. He reminds Otto of who he used to be before everything went wrong, and it works. For the first time in a long time, Otto regains control of his mind and realizes the chaos he caused. That's when he delivers the line that defines everything. He doesn't want to end as a monster.
I will not die a monster.
With no time left, he makes the only possible decision. He uses his own tentacles to pull the entire reactor structure down, straight into the river. The idea is simple: sink it before it destroys everything. But he knows he's not getting out. As everything collapses, Otto keeps holding the reactor, making sure the water neutralizes the reaction, and he stays there until the end. The weight of the scene isn't just in the death, it's in the choice. He spends the entire movie losing control, and in the end, he chooses how it ends. On screen, there's a video where we show every time Spider-Man revealed his identity. Click and watch. I'll see you there.